Okay, GCSE music students, so here is a video on how to structure your EDM track. So we've got all of our layers ready to go: our kick, our snare, our hi-hat, our chords, our arpeggiated chords, our bass line, our riff, our sample and our melody. You need to make sure you have all of these before you start. Now what we're going to do is we're going to structure our composition by using these layers. And rather than just dropping them in and out, we're going to make sure that our piece of music goes on a journey. So I'm going to do this drop down button here to start making sure that we can put our sections in. And here we go, we've got one that says arrangement. So I'm going to click here, and this is going to be our introduction. And I'm going to do it for at least 8 bars. You can do it for longer if you want, you could do it for shorter, but I'm going to do it for 8 bars. 8 bars is quite a good amount of time for a section. Then I'm going to click another one immediately, and I'm going to call this one section A. So it's going to be my main section. So to start with my intro, I don't want everything coming in at the same time. So I'm going to move my drums out of the way. I don't want any drums really in the first section. I'm going to use my chords, but I'm not going to use my arpeggiated chords, so I'm going to move those out of the way. I'm not going to bring my bass in yet. And you're going to listen to each of these layers and think about which ones you want to use. You could start with your riff, you could start with your sample, you could start with your melody. I think I'm going to start with my sample and my chord. So let's have a listen to my introduction. Okay, so that's good for my introduction. A nice way to split sections as well is to give a little break or a pause in between them. So I like that as my introduction. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my chords and I'm going to bring them back so that I have a little bit of space, and then just have this on its own. So let's have a listen to that break. And then it's going to go into my next section. So this is section A. This is going to be my main section of my piece. So I reckon I want my melody in, but I can't bring in everything at the beginning all at once. So I think let's take the riff out because it's probably going to get in the way of my melody. Let's keep the bass line in. I could have the arpeggiated chords if I wanted to. I could also have the chords and repeat those if I wanted to, but I'm going to change the texture slightly, and I'm going to not have any chords in this bit, I don't think. I'm gonna, maybe I'll have my hi-hat in the second bit and my snare in the second bit as well. So you can see how my piece of music now is going on this journey where we've got chords at the beginning of my sample, then we're into my section A where I've got bass, melody and kick, and then the rest of my drums come in. I might want to put some chords in here, but let's have a little listen. So here's section A. Now if I wanted to, I could add some chords back in. What would it sound like with some arpeggiated chords? Let's have a listen. Yeah, I could add those in as I wanted to as well to give it a bit of a difference in that second half. So I've done my introduction, I've done my section A. I could repeat section A if I wanted to and change something, but what I'm probably going to do now is go to my next section, which is called the drop. So I'm going to click on my arrangement tool and call this one the drop. And I'm going to do this again for 8 bars. Now the point of the drop is that it's building tension into our next section. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my riff, I think, but I'm going to change the chords and I'm going to change the drums slightly. So instead of having my kick every beat, I think I'm going to take my kick out and I'm going to have my snare every beat. So I'm going to make a new region here for my snare, and I'm going to do the snare every beat. let's have a listen to that, those snares all together. See what that sounds like. I like that, but now what I need to do is build the tension up more. So I'm going to take the rhythm of it and I'm going to halve it so that it's happening every other beat, and then maybe increase it as well. Let's have a listen. So I'll put an extra one in between each one. Maybe I'll do one on every beat in this one as well. So let's try that. How does this bit sound? Yeah, that's building up some tension. Maybe what I should do is halve that. So let's take this and do it for half. And do it just every other beat and then do a new region for that. So let's take this. So every beat, and then when we get to this section, double it. Let's have a listen. Let's hear this bit now. Yeah, I want it constant, don't I? So let's get off there. And you can play around with this until it's correct. So let's take this over. And increase it again. It's all about developing that snare pattern so that it's building to our drop. There we go, that's good. So another way to build tension is by taking your bass line, copying it over and using something called a pedal. A pedal note is a long held or sustained note. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my bass line, I'm going to delete all the notes apart from the first one, and I'm going to repeat it on every beat of the bar. Let's have a try that. See what that sounds like with this pedal. That's building up some tension. If I wanted to, I could double when the pedal comes in, just like I did with the snare. I like that. And then one further trick you can use to increase some tension is you take your chords from earlier. So here are my chords. And now you take your chords and you half the length of each chord and make the chords change much quicker. So the harmonic rhythm, you halve it, so how often they happen. So I'm going to take this first chord, halve it, bring the next chord back to meet it, halve it, bring the next chord back, halve it, go, and now the chords are going to change much quicker. Let's have a listen to those. Okay, great. So now I have my drop section here. Actually, this should be called my build up. I'm sorry, everyone. Let's rename this as a build up. The one after it is the drop. This builds up the tension, so let's call it build up. And then it's the next section that's the drop, because when it drops back down. Apologies that I got that word wrong, but exactly everything is the same. Great, and then I come to my drop section, so let's find something else. I say I'm going to bring my sample back from my drop, because it's maybe one of the main pieces of my music. Going to bring my main drum beat back, but maybe I'll bring the other things in afterwards. Take my bass line perhaps from earlier and bring that in. And then maybe I'll bring in my arpeggiated chords, because I haven't used those yet. So let's bring those in here, shall we? Effectively, what you want to do is you want to see change and contrast throughout your piece of music for each section. So each section sounds like its own individual part, where you have an intro, you have your main section, section A, a build up and a drop. Let's have a listen to the build up into the drop, shall we? And that is where we want to get to for the first half of our composition.